Hi guys, it is Mr. Fed. Welcome back to the channel. I am back in the man cave. I thought I would do a quick video about vinyl. It's a video series that I've been wanting to do for a while. And I thought I would start this series with what is the most expensive vinyl record I actually own. Now, 7 or 8 years ago, I had quite a large collection of vinyl. It was upwards to about 800 records, possibly even more. That's a fairly sizable chunk of vinyl. But it got too much for me, really, to manage. So I sold the majority of it. But I did hold back a few records, which I thought were either important to me, either through some sort of association or memory, or records that I thought might be worth something. Now, the record that I've actually subsequently found to be my most expensive, this record was actually in the pile for sale. So I basically had people come round and I said, well, pick 4 or 5 records for a tenner, and people were happy to oblige. You give 5 records for a tenner, you generally find that people are quite willing to do that. And a record collector came and he sort of had a look through and he picked out one record. He picked out the record I'm about to show you and he said, well, I'll give you a tenner for it, which a bit of a surprise because I was offering 5 for a tenner. He could have scooped that up along with 4 other records, offered me a tenner, and I'd have been none the wiser. But the fact he offered me a tenner for one record, I thought, well, maybe maybe this is something I need to have a look at. I said no. Oh, sorry, that got put in the wrong pile by mistake. That's supposed to be in my keep pile. He then offered me 20 quid and I still turned it down. And I kept the record. I kept it in my keep pile. My keep pile now is probably only about that big. Maybe, I don't know, 40, possibly 50 records. Anyway, what is my most expensive piece of vinyl? After my due diligent research, I will show you and I'll tell you why it is. And it is this one. It is Window by Michael Chapman. Now I will give you what I've found on the internet about this. I did a quick eBay search first of all, and there were only 2 copies of this record for sale on eBay. One was listed for £75 and the other was listed for £125. So I imagine that the true value of this record probably falls somewhere in the middle. Now, this is a first edition pressing. You can tell because it's got the original Harvest label on it in the centre of the record. This album has since been reissued, and I think the label on the reissue is Decca. But anyway, that's the yellow Harvest label you want to see for a first pressing of this record. Looking at the quality of the record, I don't even think this record's probably ever been played. It's an absolutely immaculate condition. So anyway, Michael Chapman, this is his third album. His first 2 albums were quite successful. He's an acoustic an acoustic type musician. Now he had an album deal with Harvest for 4 records. Now he was touring the first 2 records. Michael Chapman said the only way that he made money is through touring, and that him being in the studio and making new records, if he was off the road, he wasn't making any money. So Michael Chapman did not want to record this record. But as a contractual obligation, he did go in. Now, most of this record is made from kind of discarded songs that didn't make it onto his first 2 records. Another thing is that he had some creative freedom over this record, and he actually made it more electric. He sort of drifted away from his original acoustic tone. Now, when Bob Dylan did that, he drifted away from acoustic to electric. I think there was a massive uproar. Much of the same with Michael Chapman. Anyway, upon the release of this record in 1970, Michael Chapman, basically, he completely disowned this record. He absolutely hated it. The record failed to chart. It didn't make it into the UK album charts. So the reason why this album is so sought after is because it's so rare. They only did 1 pressing of this record. It didn't chart. Now, Michael Chapman passed away in 2021. This album has subsequently been reappraised by critics. When it first came out, the critics absolutely hated it. They said it didn't sound like a Michael Chapman record. It didn't have flow. It was electric. It wasn't acoustic. So it was pretty much panned by the artist and by critics. So it didn't sell. It didn't chart. Subsequent reappraisals of this record have basically said that it's Michael Chapman's most reflective piece of work. And it's actually it's stood the test of time as an individual piece of work. Critics are now saying it's a really excellent or a very good record. So we got the fact it didn't sell, it didn't chart. Critics have reappraised it, saying it's brilliant. Upon Michael Chapman's death, they reissued it. So there's loads of reissues of this record on eBay. But a first pressing, apparently, is just going up and up in value. So I think, £75 on eBay, £125 on eBay, both prices are better than the £20 that the chap offered me for it. So I'm really glad I kept it. I haven't listened to this actual record, but I've listened to the record on Spotify. I don't want to really ruin this record. I think this is a keepsake. This is one that I'm going to be keeping, and I'm going to be keeping tabs on it to see what happens with the value in the future. I have to say, I'm with the reappraisal of this album. I think it's an absolutely brilliant album. I don't understand why Michael Chapman distanced himself from it at all. But I guess it was the circumstances of the time that he probably... he had a bit of a bee in his bonnet that he was contractually obligated to be pulled off the road and actually make it. But anyway, if you have the chance to listen to it on Spotify, it's Michael Chapman Window. This is, through my research, the most expensive record I own. I've got some other records which I've had a look on eBay. Most of them probably, the second most expensive one I think I own is only about 40 to 50 quid. So this one is like, head and shoulders above. But yes, I want to do a few talks about my record collections, but I'm only going to do one record at a time. I'm not going to be one of these people that sort of sit in front of a camera for 2 hours and go through every single record. I'm going to pick out individual pieces of vinyl which are important to me or are special for some other reason. And we'll do a little presentation. I don't know. It's as and when time affords, really. Probably only be once a month. But yeah. So I've also got a very small number of CDs, and I've got one particular CD which is also seems to be worth a bit of a mint. CDs seem to be coming into being worth something as well. So I will do a little bit, another video of the most expensive CD I own. But anyway, I just wanted to run that by you. This is the most expensive record I own, Michael Chapman Window, brilliant album. Check it out on Spotify. Hit me in the comments, what's the most expensive piece of vinyl that you own and why, and I will see you in the next video.